Okay, this is part two of our buttons exercise, and I'm just going to head into basically where we left off on the previous one, which was, I believe, step 22. Just to review, we've dragged two buttons down onto their appropriate layers. Go to green ball button has gone on the green ball button layer, and go to red ball has gone on the red ball button layer. Now, what we're going to do at this point is basically give each of these buttons the ability to do something. And in this case, it's going to be going to these scenes. Remember, we have two other scenes over here. We have our red ball scene, and these are just simply simple animations that hopefully is a review for you, and they're sort of going to be indicating that we've gone to the right place. So, before I do this, I want to explain sort of the difference between this and what we did with the stop action. The stop action is basically sitting in this frame. Okay, it's a frame action, meaning that it lives within the frame, and so when the playhead goes across it, it sees it and says, "Oh, I have to do that." And in that case, it's stop. In this case, we're going to be giving an action to this button, okay, or to this instance of this button, meaning the main symbol is over here, and when we pull it over here, we have what's called the instance, and we're basically going to give it an action. We're going to give it something to do, okay? So it says on step 23 with the black selection tool, click on the green ball button on the stage. Okay, so that means we've sort of basically selected it. And then it says go to window code snippets. Okay, so we're going to go to window code snippets. Now, the difference between going to window actions and going to window code snippets is a little bit different. Window go, the actions is a place where, and we'll sort of go to it quickly here, where we sort of type stuff in. Okay, we type stuff in, actions that sort of we might have learned, or we've copied and pasted from another spot. Code snippets is a little shortcut, and for most of what we're going to be doing in this class, we want to use the shortcut. They're basically pre-packaged actions, things that Flash knows people want to do often, and they've written the code for you. And the reason we're using this, you'll see in a second, because it's somewhat complicated. For what we're doing here in this art class, we want to basically understand what the script is doing, but not necessarily have to be able to write it. So, go to Window Code Snippets. Again, the snippets are just little prepackaged things. And it says click on the second folder called Timeline Navigation. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And then we see all these little options. Stop at this frame, click to go to frame and stop. These are all the sort of what I'll call plain English versions of the action. And then it says double click on the one called click to go to scene and play. Okay, and that's the last one here. And so if I click on that one, you're going to see what happens here. So I'm going to click on the click to go to scene and play. So and that means we're sort of, when we click, we're going to a scene and playing that scene. Okay, that's what that means. So I'm going to click there. It says the selected symbol requires an instance name. Flash will create an instance name, and that's fine. It's basically saying, you know what, we're going to name the instance of this go to green ball. And remember, the instance is just the version of the symbol from the library that happens to be on this stage. We might have another instance of the go to green ball in a different place. This one is basically, it needs to give it a name so that it can do something with it. So don't worry about this, just click OK, and then we're going to see this big giant window open, which is our actions window. Okay, and this is our script that we're going to add to the button. Now let's take a look at it, and I'm not going to explain every single thing. But it has up here basically some instructions. You'll see some things that are grayed out. This isn't actually part of the code. This is what's often referred to as a comment. This isn't something that Flash is reading. It's more back to our plain English. A definition of what this thing is doing. A lot of programmers use things like this where they do things what's called commenting in and out, where you basically put explanations or something within code so that if you go back to it, you can say, hey, you put this in because blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this actions comment right here says click to go to scene and play. That's what we clicked on. And then it gives a definition. Clicking on the specified symbol instance plays the movie from a specified scene and frame. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And then it actually even gives you instructions, which is great. It says replace scene 3, which is right here, with the name of the scene you would like to play. Replace 1, which is right here, with the frame you would like to play. Okay, and then we actually get to the script here. Okay, this is the actual portion of the script, and it says button 1. Okay, that's actually what it named our instance. It says add event listener. Event listener has to do with basically what does the user do, and then it says mouse event is click. What is happening is that we're clicking. Okay, that's the event. Later we can add things. You can add things like a keyboard command. You could say, you know, something's only going to happen if someone presses P on the keyboard or Q. Okay. And then the function, okay, click to go to scene and play, the movie clip, and I'm not going to go into this, all this. And then here is where it's important, okay? So we want to go back and make sure it says go to green ball, okay? And this is where it's super important that we type exactly what our scene is called, okay? So we want to go, we're going to leave that at 1, and this needs to be called green ball, okay? So our scene is called green ball. Spaces, capitalization, extra spaces, it's all going to screw this up if you don't type it exactly as you have in your script here. Okay, so I'm actually going here to sort of see. I might even copy and paste what the green ball is called. Okay, and then come back. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to my home scene. And make sure it says exactly what I have here. Okay, sorry, I keep clicking that green ball. I just want to look at it. So I think that's correct. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people type green ball scene and it's actually just green ball. Computers sometimes are quite dumb. They don't sort of know what you mean if you type it kind of correctly. Okay, so we're gonna leave that as this, and then we're gonna basically step 29 is repeat steps 23 through 28 for the red ball. Okay, so I'm gonna close this out. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna hit red ball. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm selecting that. Okay, and I'm gonna click to go to that scene and play. I get that same thing. And down here, I get the same exact thing. You'll see that I have the same script. This is the script that I did at first, and then this is going to be the second one that I do. So this one is called red ball, and I'm going to double check by looking over at my scene here. It's called red ball. I think I'm okay. And you'll see that all of your actions that you've ascribed to particular buttons in this scene are here. So this one is the first green ball, and then this one is the red ball. And you'll see over here the instance is now button 2. It needs to differentiate. This is button 1, this is button 2. Okay, you don't need to know all this, but if you're so inclined, you might want to sort of take a look around, start to understand how these actions work. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. I'm going to close out code snippets, and I want you to sort of see what happened here in your timeline. A layer was added, and it was called actions. And those actions that we've added to these particular buttons now live up here. Okay, that's where they sort of put them. Flash is doing what I constantly am telling you guys to do, and it's organizing for you. Okay, now what we're going to do at this point before we head into the last bit is we're going to test this. Okay, so I'm going to go to Control Test Movie, and we want to sort of see how this looks so far. So go to green ball, we go to green ball, okay, and we come back. Go to red ball, and you'll see that we also go to green ball. Now, why does that happen? That happens because of our scenes, and I want to sort of take a look at this. Okay, when I am at home, I have two choices. Okay, I can go to green ball, or I can go to red ball. Red ball is the second scene. Okay, if I go to red ball, and this gets a little confusing. If I go to red ball, Flash wants to automatically go to green ball because it's the third scene. So I go from home and I go to red ball and then it goes to green ball. Now, that doesn't happen when I go to green ball. If I go to green ball, I am skipping red ball, okay, because the script says go to the green ball script and play it. Green ball is the last scene in the movie. So when I'm done with green ball, it goes back to home. Okay, just like your movies that you've made in projects 1 and 2, you go back to home after you've gotten to the last frame of the last scene. Now your guys' movies sort of keep going, they start over, and you've seen that in your movies and other people's movies. What we're going to do is basically put one little bit of script in here that basically after we go to red ball, we go back home. Okay, we don't want to go to red ball and then go to green ball. That's not the point. Okay, so this is where we head into step 30, adding a short go to and play script. So go to whichever scene is your second scene in the movie. Okay, in this case it's my red ball scene, so I'm going to go here. Okay, I'm going to insert a layer and I'm going to call it actions. Okay, and I'm going to insert a keyframe on the last active frame of the scene on this action layer, and this is mine. This is my frame 60. Okay, and I'm going to open the actions panel. And for you guys, you're going to copy and paste, but I'm going to type this, and it's go to, okay, and play, and it's going to be basically scene 1, or sorry, frame 1 of the home scene, okay? Now, what this does is at the end of my red ball scene, which is my second scene, it goes back to home. Okay, so it sees that script in the timeline and it goes directly back to home. Okay, now let's sort of test this and see what we've done. I'm going to save this. Oops. Okay, first let's go to green ball. That should just play, goes back to home. Okay, we're stopped, we're waiting for something to happen. Now here's the real test. Go to red ball, and we go back home this time. Okay, instead of going and playing the green ball scene, which is directly after the red ball scene, we go back home. So you'll see that we have total control now. I can go there, and now I can go there. Okay, so we can do this over and over again. Feel happy about our success with our buttons. Now, in relation to your projects, you guys are sort of faced with the task of making a project that has a choice. Okay, this idea that we've sort of inserted, basically the go to and play back home, will allow your viewer to go back and potentially sort of see the other route. Imagine your sort of little issue that you're going over is, you know, do you want to recycle? Yes. If you go to yes, you see the glory of recycling and the goodness of it and blah, blah, blah. You want to basically offer that viewer the choice, once we're done with the yes option, to come back and say no. Okay, there might be information in that no area as well. Okay, don't do recycling now, by the way. So this is the buttons exercise. Basically, you're going to name this buttons and make a SWF and make sure it's in the Dropbox. I can't say enough. Please make sure you're putting stuff in the right places. I've had a lot of people putting stuff in the wrong places. It is very frustrating on the organizational front for me when I'm grading, etc., when stuff is all over the place. So make sure this stuff is in the right place. That's about it for buttons. Take a look at your Week 10 PDF. You have a lot of little things to do. The one thing that I'm sort of consistently pushing off here, and it will appear next week, is this quiz. I'm going to basically change what is sort of said in the syllabus slightly, but it's not actually changing at all. I'm going to be taking what was usually a series of 10-point quizzes, meaning 10 questions, and I'm going to do two 20-point quizzes. It's the same amount of grading, it's the same amount of questions. I'm just going to do it basically one time next week and then once at the end of the semester. That's going to replace these shorter 10-point quizzes. You guys have a lot to do, and every time I go to put the quiz up, I want to give you more time for projects and exercises. So you will see that quiz next week. It'll be 20 points, and then you'll see another one at the end of the semester. So looking forward to seeing projects 2, and email me with any questions.